Here we are back at my Picasso drawings, and today we're going to be looking at some target prioritization. And in the previous guide, so to speak, what I did was I edited all the screens together, but I think it was a little bit stiff, and if I explain it like this, where everything moves around when I touch it, I think it's going to be a lot more dynamic, and it should be a little bit easier to understand without being very convoluted. So first things first, the plane here doesn't really matter. I pictured myself in a 109 because it's always somewhat of a disadvantage except for climb rate. So it's a little bit easier to understand in terms of why I'm going for the Spitfire or the P51. I have a very clear dynamic setup here. I got a P51 which is clearly for the speed, and then the Spitfire for the simply more maneuverable plane than the 109. So it's not so much applicable only to these planes. You have to know your own plane and how they stack up against each other. But everyone knows the Spitfire, the P51 and the BF109. So I think this is a very solid base to have. And yes, I know it's an extremely long video, it's an extremely boring video, but I want to include everything. I can summarize target prioritization in about 2 sentences, which is you go for the most dangerous target in the long run, or you go for the most immediate threat in the short run. This will be applicable to the entire game. I will cover some top tier with jets, I will cover some low tier jets, and I will cover some props. And it should include everything. If there's some things I missed out, I'm terribly sorry, but after 45 minutes you should understand a base of what I'm trying to say, and you will have to just adapt it to your own situation, because not a single situation will be the same as the previous one. So really I'm just giving you some building blocks here so you can decide for yourself who's the most important target to kill, because in the long run there is no real solution for a single situation. It will depend on your playstyle, it will depend on what's going on around you, and it's just way too dynamic. And if I give you gameplay examples, which I have been thinking about, there's a very big chance that I actually misinform you, because I show you the situation after I already built my castle with my building blocks, and you don't really recognize the building blocks anymore, and you start like mistaking one for the other. And I don't want that to happen, so I'm going to keep it completely theoretical in here. I'm sorry for that, but that's just the best way I can convey what I think about target prioritization. If at one point you think this video becomes too long, too boring, which is completely understandable, then I advise you to at least check out the mistakes. I will have timestamps down below, and we'll have little asterisks to the parts that I think are the most important. So if you really can't sit through the entire thing, I advise you to do so, but if you can't, so be it. At least check out the asterisks and the little mistakes that I have. So, first things first, you're in the BF109, you have a slight altitude advantage, and there's 2 Spitfires, let's say 1500 meters below you. And who do you engage first at this point? At this point, you want to attack the guy that's in the back. And it doesn't matter if you come from this angle, if you come from directly above. In general, you want to attack the guy that's behind. Because say I go for this BF109, what will happen is, I go for him, vroom, I pass away. This guy might be dead, so let's say he's dead. So he's gone. But this guy is now also closing the distance. I bled a lot of speed going for this guy, and this guy will easily now shoot you up the ass, and you don't want that. So we'll go a little bit back, and then if I engage this guy, I'm just gonna turn it around like this because it's a little bit easier. Just pretend my cockpit is on the upside. I go for this guy, he dies. Let's pretend he dies anyway. He's gone. So I fly back up here, and now this guy has been passing along. If he wants to attack me, he has to do a full 180, and he will bleed a lot of speed doing so, in which you can probably stall him out. Of course, it all depends on energy states and what it looks like and whatever. You all know this. If you don't know what energy states are like, if you don't know how they work, I highly suggest you check out the energy video that I made, because energy management and reading energy states is almost as important as it is to attack the right target. Let's say we have a little bit of a different scenario. The guy behind is slightly below the other Spitfire. Who do you want to go for now? And now really the energy states here will matter even more. Because say I go for Spitfire number 2, which is the higher one. If the guy below him has sufficient energy, we will end up in the exact same scenario as the previous one, where he will simply pitch up and shoot me down. Whereas if I go for the guy that's lower, sure, he's behind. What might end up happening is that this guy now has sufficient energy to cut me off, and basically kill me because I can't escape. Sure, with something with a Spitfire, it's less of an issue because most of the time you can simply run away. But say I go for this guy, I dive on him. I'm not gonna turn it. I dive on him, he dies. So he's gone. And now I'm below this Spitfire, and having an energy disadvantage versus a more maneuverable plane is a scenario you don't want to be in. So at this point, it will completely be dependent on what you can do here. What I would do is, obviously you want to be behind them because you don't want to go head on with two guys, but I'll mention this in the energy thing. I want to dive on the top one, but I don't want to actually engage him. What I want to do is push him down. So I make a pass, I break off sufficient altitude so that the bottom guy doesn't reach me. He's down a little bit. I go back up. And now they have roughly the same energy state, and now I want to attack the back guy again. This guy has probably just pitched up for me, and if he did so, he pitched up a little bit, he might now have a little bit more altitude than the front Spitfire. Most likely he will have less speed and he will be a much more vulnerable target. The other thing you want to keep in mind is you want to attack a target of opportunity. So say you have two guys in the exact same spot, say they're flying directly next to each other. Kill the one that's the easiest to kill, or the one that's going to pose the most threat later on. If you have a Spitfire here that you can easily kill and you won't be able to easily kill the other one, kill the one you can easily kill so you can focus on the, well, 1v1 after that. In another scenario where both are pretty dangerous, you might want to take out the more dangerous one first, the one has a little bit more energy, because if he's out of the picture, what ends up happening is the 1v1 with this guy will be sufficient or significantly easier. So it all depends, and this is what I meant at the start of the video. Target prioritization is something that's so dynamic. I have a very hard time actually explaining who and what to engage. So you have some baselines. You want to shoot the guy that's in the back so that the guy in front can't kill you, and you want to kill the guy with more energy. But in terms of in battle, most of the time these rules don't really apply because the game is just so dynamic that you can't really choose what to engage. Who do you want to engage now first? And this will depend a little bit on their plane, and again you want to know your planes. This is a Mark 9, the top one, and the bottom one is a Mark 5. I would probably kill the Mark 9 first because the Mark 5 has a lot less performance. So if they're both as easy to kill, you want to look at the hardest guy to kill because the other guy will be easier to kill once he pays attention to you. Another thing is, say this guy is significantly slower and they're now both in a Mark 9, so they're both the same plane, so that doesn't really matter anymore. They're flying directly next to each other, but the back one is slightly slower. Are they paying attention to you or not? If they aren't paying attention to you, kill the guy that's the fastest. If they are paying attention to you, make sure that you kill one guy in that pass you're going to make, so kill the easiest one. It all depends on the scenario and what's going on around you. Do you want a guy dead? Because if you go for the harder target and say you miss, now you're in a 2v1. Say you go for the easier target, or the one that's almost stalled out, but the other guy has so much energy that he can now loop over and kill you, you also killed the wrong target. And just to clarify this a little bit, say this guy is going very slow, and this guy is going, let's say, 500 meters in front of him, and he's going almost 600 kph because he just came out of a dive. A little bit of an over-exaggeration, but this should make the point clear. Say that they both aren't really paying attention. I'm going almost as fast as this guy, but because I'm cutting him off like this, I go for the guy in the back. I go here, I kill him, he dies. And now this guy, oh, the background isn't supposed to move, I'm sorry. This guy is traveling in the same direction. I'm directly on a 6. I can stick on him, but I'm probably not going to win the dogfight since we're on equal energy states, and my 109 is probably not maneuverable enough to kill the Spitfire right there. So I probably want to either break off or try to throttle drop him. This again depends on the situation. Say I break off. This is something a lot of people do. I'm actually going to turn it around now because I'm going to use this for a little bit. We're flying both in the same direction. We're roughly going the same speed, and I don't want to dogfight the Spitfire. So what happens is I break off. He sees this, and with his relatively same energy state, he will simply pitch up and maybe intercept me. You don't want this to happen. This again is a little bit of over exaggeration, but it should get the point across. Whereas, say I killed the guy in the back, this guy is going 300, this guy is going 600. He might be behind him, but I'm going to be going so fast that this guy won't be a threat. So I boom and zoom this guy, he's not really paying attention, la 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 la, boom, he's dead. Wrong guy, he's dead. I can zoom away and this guy has simply not enough energy to pitch up after me and kill me. But at the same time, we go back to square one. I'm above these two guys and this guy is faster, but now they're both paying attention to me. I go for the guy in front. He dodges because he has a significant amount of energy, so he doesn't really have trouble dodging my guns. And now I break off. I might have a little bit more energy than this guy, and I have more energy than this guy, but now I have to make a repeat. And because this guy has enough energy, I will take a lot of time trying to kill him. This guy, however, in the meantime, will build up his speed more and more. Sure, by the time he's over here, I can attack him and I will push him back down again. But then this guy gains some energy again and I need to climb again. And this all creates for a very long stalematy fight, which will completely rely on how the two Spitfires play it. You don't want that to happen. This could have been completely avoided if I simply attacked this guy here, because he doesn't have the energy to dodge. This guy is instantly dead. And now I can just 1v1 this guy like I did in the previous example. If it's not clear, I might make a video with some actual in-game appliances, with some actual examples, but this is something that's so ingrained in the gameplay and every engagement is different that it's very hard to give you a certain rule. I'm really trying to give you the basics and you will just have to apply that to whatever scenario you come across. This will take some experience, this will take a lot of time, but that's unfortunately how this game is. This is not a pick up and play and be the best in the game. This game takes a lot of, well, not really talent, it takes some common sense, it takes a lot of experience, and it just takes a lot of knowledge. So if you don't get this right immediately, don't feel bad, and the best thing I can tell you is, if you engage someone and you die about 40 seconds later, just clip it, send it to someone you know is at least somewhat competent, and ask what you did wrong, and time to switch it up a little. Now we got a BF-109 and we got a P-51, which in the long run will be very annoying to kill, because he's somewhat as maneuverable. Of course, he probably won't win a prolonged dogfight, but it's still a very dangerous plane in the dogfight. It's a lot faster than you, and it will be able to boom and zoom you once he equalizes the energy. This is something that I don't want to happen. So if I ever see this combination, and again it will depend on the plane, because say this is a Mark 22 Spitfire and this is a P-51 D30, yeah, the Mark 22 is definitely going to be more dangerous, but we're going to be looking at the same bracket roughly. So we're going to be looking at, say, a P-51C and a Spitfire Mark 5 or Mark 9. Mark 9 is probably good. So he will probably be a little bit higher. This guy will be a little bit faster, but I will roughly be on the same altitude. Who do I want to engage first here? Well, probably at the start of the match, we'll have to go head on with the Spitfire. And then this guy will be slightly lower, and he's probably going to be climbing. And I want to push this guy down before he gets into a position where he can actually start killing me. Because dealing with a Spitfire and a P-51, or a J2M and a P-51, or P-51 and anything that turns roughly better than you, is an absolute pain in the ass. Because the P-51, especially something like a D30, will very easily run you down. And if you get run down by a P-51, for example, you might be able to reverse him, but there's probably also someone next to him which can easily out-dogfight you. Especially now, since the P-51s and Americans in general are mostly paired with Japanese planes, which makes for a very deadly combination, which you don't really want to be, well, you don't want to be on the opposite end of the stick from them. But say we have a Spitfire, he's slightly lower than me because I have slightly higher, better high altitude performance, and he is climbing in the back, going a little bit slower. So he's still climbing, the Spitfire is getting ready to head on me. I don't really want to take the head on, that's really, again, it depends on your speed. If you're going 300, you can't really dodge. But for the sake of the argument, we're going to be saying I'm going to be slightly above him. And I will be able to pass the Spitfire without taking any damage. Head-ons are a completely different story, and I will cover that pretty soon here, because I noticed that explaining it with this Photoshop setup is a lot easier and a lot more dynamic for me. So I can probably start creating a few more of these videos. Sorry if I stumble, but English is again not my native language. So I'm right above the Spitfire now, and what I can do is try to turn around, but the Spitfire will probably try to turn around also. I'm not going to win the dogfight unless I have significantly more energy, but if the P-51 does what they mostly do, is he's still climbing towards the fight. If I can dive on him now, take him out, that's huge. Something like a P51, especially late game, say it's 3v2, a P51 can easily, well, push everyone down into his second teammate, and you don't want that. So we want to kill him. Say he dives away, which a lot of them do, because he has to use his speed. Now he's going to be diving to the deck, and I am somewhat left alone with the Spitfire. Sure, the Spitfire has probably turned around. La la la. He's now chasing me, but he just did a 180, and after doing another 180 to chase me, so he did a full 360. I just came out of here, I dove a little bit, and I'm going to shallowly dive back up here, and we have roughly an equal energy state. And I can just rope this guy around for as long as I need to, because the Spitfire isn't that much of a problem. In the event that I kill the P51, even more perfect, I won't have to worry about him. Another thing you want to take into account when you're flying asymmetrically, say you have two of these, you have two P51s that are right next to each other, and you get one Spitfire. What I want to do then is actually kill the Spitfire. And this might sound weird because I just said that the P51 is more annoying. You also have to keep in mind is you can win the dogfight versus a P51, even if it's 2v1. Of course, it's not a matchup you want to have, but I'd rather fight two guys that are faster than me than a guy that outruns me and then a guy that outturns me. Because right now the Spitfire at the start of the game or at any point of the game is probably going to be very easily killing you if you're low on energy. And these two guys will easily bring you down to low energy. So say I kill the Spitfire first, and of course this is our perfect scenario where everything you shoot dies, because otherwise this is just way too it's way too of a dynamic topic. I can't explain every single scenario. You really have to just adapt to it, and that's just how it is. Now I have a climb rate advantage over both of these guys, and I can outturn both of them, albeit very narrowly, and I don't really want to turn fight them because these things are still very dangerous in a dogfight, but at least now I have a chance. And especially early game, and we're going to turn it around now. That's of course a team behind me, but team aspect comes after this, because a lot of you guys won't be flying in a squad, or teammates in general aren't very competent, and that's why I'm trying to make these guides. Say I got 3 P51s, there are D30s, I got fully up tiered. This is a Spitfire, it's a Mark 9, so it's only a 4.3. And all of these are the P51 D30s at 5.0. Very dangerous plane. You don't really want to deal with this group. But at the same time, say your team consists out of a lot of bombers, a lot of ground pounders, and you notice from the start of the match that no one is climbing. You want to actually focus these P51s now. And why do I say that? Because say I have 2 or 3 fighters with me, and these are G2 drops. The P51 D30 is a very hard cookie to crack, not to crack, whatever you want to say, one-on-one. But early phases of the game, there's a very big chance they're going to be occupied by shooting a bomber, they're going to be occupied by shooting your teammate, or they're going to be occupied with anything but you. You have an element of surprise. So say these guys are all engaging. It's they're all engaging each other here down here. If I kill these P51s while they're busy, they're relatively easy kills, and the fact that they are in a D30 is actually not that important because they're not paying attention. You can kill anything if it doesn't see you and you're catching it. Of course, do be careful that this Spitfire doesn't simply cut off your flight path and shoot you down that way, but we're going to just kind of ignore the Spitfire that he's at altitude. He's just in the match, he's in the furball. You want to kill these guys. And here I go again. It will depend on the situation, because sometimes, say the Spitfire is directly on the 6 of your friendly, and he's about 20 seconds away from killing him. Now you want to kill the Spitfire first, because he is an immediate threat to your team. And again, I will focus on the team aspect after this one. But say there's a lot of P51 flying around and a lot of Spitfires. You want to engage the most dangerous planes late game. Your team is probably not going to win this dogfight. The P51s are have more numbers, they actually turn almost as well as the 109, and there's also Spitfire in the mix. So the chances of you going in there and winning the entire furball is slim to none. So you want to take out the highest priority targets. Either the guy that's the closest to killing one of your teammates, which in this example might be the P51. Then I kill this P51. Boom, dead. Spitfire in the mix, he's about to start shooting, then I want to kill the Spitfire. One of your teammates falls out, and now there's two P51s on this guy 6. Kill the guy that's the highest, has the most energy, or has something going for him. If this guy is crit, you can kill this guy first and you will come back to him later. Keep in mind, if people are occupied, they're a lot easier to kill than when they're looking at you. So say it's 3v1 at the end of the game. Do I rather fight 3 P51s or do I rather fight 3 Spitfires? I can tell you, I can run away from the Spitfires, I can reset these fights all day long. Sure, they're a little bit more maneuverable, sure, they're a little bit harder to dogfight. Nothing will push me into the Spitfires. I can boom and zoom them all day long. Whereas 3 P51s will be able to break off, extend, come back in with an energy advantage despite having lower energy, and dwindle you down. And even though they're below you, they will pull you down until you hit the deck, and then they will simply outrun you. Does this make sense? To me it does. It's the same with a little bit of a different example. A little bit of a different example, but something I see happening very often. I'm chasing a P51, I will never catch him. I know the P51 is faster than me. I can see he's gaining distance and he's in a faster plane. So even in the long run, I will never catch him. And when I finally do, something like this will probably happen. On the bottom, there's the 4v4 going on. There's 4 Spitfires versus 4 109s. And again, very awkward wet matchup. But it's just to give you a point. The Spitfires will win this 75 to 80% of the time. So in the time you're chasing this guy, you're letting these guys fight it out on the run. This is a matchup your team will not win. The 109s might trade 3v3. They start dogfighting. The 109s might take down another Spitfire because he's too busy shooting at one of the 109s. But the Spitfires will be on the 6 of the other two. They die. And now it is 2v1, no way the 109 wins, unless these of course completely throw it, but that's not something you want to rely on. In the meantime, I'm still chasing this guy, he is 2v1, he might trade in the head-on. Let's say best case scenario, only 1 Spitfire survives, and you're probably going to be looking at 2, maybe 3 in some instances if the Spitfires fly it right. But for the sake of the argument, let's go with 1, because that's the best case scenario in this event. Well, other than them all trading in a head-on and then no one being alive. You are still chasing this P51. And you're not going to be catching him. In the meantime, this Spitfire is going to keep climbing. And now it's 2v2 at altitude versus a plane that's more maneuverable and a plane that's faster than you. As we discussed earlier, that's a fight you don't want to be in. What you could have done instead, let's rewind a little bit. I'm chasing this P51. And I'm still chasing him, but I want to chase him for as long as possible because in the meantime he's gaining distance, and the further away he is for this, the better. If he's really far away, I can wait till the last moment and then I will dive in on this group. And now I turn this into a 4v4 on equal ground, into a 5v4, where we have a plane that can boom and zoom this group. In the time that this P51 will take the turnaround, I will be able to take down one 109 that might have almost killed a Spitfire, or another 109. Sorry, Spitfire that almost killed a 109. So now it's 4v4. We still have a plane that's above me who is able to boom and zoom me, but I'm going to be zooming out again and I'm going to be going head on with this guy when he comes back. He's going to make a pass on me, he's probably going to miss, and he's going to keep his energy, as most people will do. If he goes straight up, yeah, that's a little bit of a problem. Most people won't do that, however, they will run away like this. Now I'm on the 6 of these 109s, of these Spitfires, I'm sorry. And it's still 3v4, which is it's still doable. That's all Spitfires and are more maneuverable. You will probably lose a 109, but in the meantime, because there's a disadvantage, he's shooting at that 109, and the 109 will get a free shot on him. P51 will come back. You need to dodge him. If he goes for the furball here and he takes down one of the 109s and he zooms out again, that's still completely fine. He has more energy now. Now it's 3v2, and when it turns into a 3v2, the Spitfires by now should have pretty low energy and you should be able to pick off one relatively easily. Now it's 3v1, with this P51 is still boom and zooming you, and the Spitfire will most likely die. Let's say he trades in a head-on for the sake of the argument, and it's 2v1 now. It's 2v1, and you have a P51 that's a lot faster than you, above you. What can you do? Well, the P51 starts boom and zooming you. You will dive away, and if he sticks, this one will get above you. The thing is, you want to break off with your teammate, you don't want to chase your teammate. Because by going separate ways, you can both try to start climbing, and if he goes for him, I can drag him down, And if he turns around to interrupt his flight path again, to push him down, in the meantime I can start climbing again. And in the long run, there's nothing he's going to be doing unless, well, he just runs away and he forces a stalemate, which he can do. But this is a much more likely matchup to win, or at least a more likely matchup that you are going to win, other than the Spitfire and the P-51 versus 109. Another thing I want to mention, say you're flying like this, you have a P-51 behind you, and I see a lot of people doing this and it infuriates me to no end, so please stop doing it. We're gonna be looking at this from a top-down view, so let's say this is right and this is left. This P-51 is following us. I turn left because I notice that this guy is flying straight, and what does your teammate do? He follows me. Bad idea. Now the P-51 can simply focus us down and we're back to square one, something you don't want to happen. Whereas if he wants to turn the other way, now the P-51 has to choose. He doesn't know if he goes for him, or he doesn't know if he goes for him. If he goes for him, he can turn back in, and now we turn it into a chase. If he goes for the other one, all the way around, now I'm on his 6. Forcing him to make mistakes, forcing him to abort the attack. Because if he sticks on this guy still, he will probably kill him, because he's on the P-51 and he's directly below him, or behind him. But then I will be directly behind him, and same deal applies here. P-51 is probably not going to be reversing the 109. Now we pull a 190 in the mix, and we're going to say, for simplicity's sake, that these are the bad 190s. It's an A1, and you're in the G2 drop. So so is your teammate. So now you got 2 guys, and you got 2 over here, and we're going to just keep it simple. Turny boy, speedy boy, well, climby boy, I guess, just for simplicity's sake. So these guys are all in the dogfight, right? It's 2v3 and you're probably going to lose. Who do you want to kill first? They're all turn fighting, they're all low and slow and whatever. And the fact that these P-51s might be trouble late game, we're just going to ignore right now, because you have enough teammates around in another part of the match that you are probably going to win the game regardless. But who do you want to kill here in this little fight? We're not looking at the entire battle, we're not looking at the game win, we're here looking at keeping as many of your allies alive to go on and fight on the other side of the map. First you want to kill this Spitfire. He's going to be the biggest danger here, because the slower they go, the bigger the threat the Spitfire becomes. So right off the bat, you come in, you blast that Spitfire, he's dead. Now you got the inferior 190 and the superior 109. Do you want to keep the 190 alive, or do you want to keep the 109 alive? Of course you want to keep the 109 alive, because he is in the battle plane. So say you see both of them about to die, you will kill the guy that's on the 109. And this is a little bit of a sacrifice, and it kind of sucks for the guy that's in a bad plane. And you can argue trying to keep the bad plane alive is better, because the better plane might be able to win the 1v1. And if that's true, sure, if they're both in a prolonged fight and you have the ability, say they're both in a dogfight, they're both losing the dogfight, and again, this will take a lot of experience if you want to actually see from a distance who is winning a fight. Not easy to do, and you will need to know the plane, the energy states, and this takes a lot of games. So this is a little bit of an expert tactic, so to speak, but I think you wouldn't be watching this if you were an expert. And if you are, then, well, I commend you for coming this far into the video with basic tactics. So this guy is on the 6. They both have someone on the 6. They're both looping, and both of these guys might be stuck in a fight where they're not really like shooting each other yet. They're just kind of like flying through each other. They're kind of looping. He's losing the fight, but they're both like staying alive, and that's good enough, right? If they both stay alive, then you can come in and boom and zoom easier. Both of these guys will lose the fight. Now they're both in the fight, la 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 la. If they're both looking good for the next 30 to 40 seconds, it doesn't really matter who you kill. Then I would say go for this guy, because he's more likely to screw up. Lower BR plane, so probably less experience. Worse plane in the dogfight, so probably more likely to make a mistake, or not even make a mistake, just to die in general. So say you kill this guy, because he's 20 seconds away from killing this guy, whereas this guy is about 40 seconds away, so it buys you a little bit more time. And you're seeing here what I'm saying again and again. It's so dependent on the situation, it's not even funny. Of course, if at one point you see that, say, this guy is pulling lead, He's pulling lead, and you see that he's about 5 seconds away of dying. And you have the ability to intercept that. Kill this one. This one is still good for another 20 seconds. Very rough, and I know it's really convoluted with all the pictures on the screen. That's why I try to shake him when I'm talking about a certain one. I hope it's clear enough. What I want to do now is talk about something I see so many people do wrong, and it's probably the most frustrating part about Era B. And we're going to be talking about team play and shooting the teammate off your guy 6. So it's a little bit more of an in-depth one on this one. What to do and what not to do. So now, your teammate is in a dogfight. He has someone on a 6, he's not getting shot at just yet, and he is shooting at someone. If I see this again, and I know you're a fan of mine, be ashamed. I'm coming in here, I'm gonna actually flip it. There we go. Flip it again. The amount of people I see going for this guy over here is absolutely astounding. He is shooting at him, and people think, oh, he's probably crit, I'm gonna steal that kill. Whereas if you go for this one, you clear this guy 6, he gets an easy kill, win-win, you both get a kill, you both survive. Other scenario, this guy is getting shot at, you go for him. He's out of the picture, sure. This guy instantly gets shot down by this one, and now it's 1v1. And you screw it up, because now it's a 1v1. Sure, you might be able to get 2 kills now. Do you want to risk it? The P-51 is probably better playing than you, and if he's a good pilot, he will simply be able to either dive away, dogfight you, do something. Anyway, it's an unneeded risk. I can lose that 1v1 very easily. It doesn't matter how much energy I have, it doesn't matter what's going on. Unless it's almost stalled out, then yeah, you can be a total dickwad, shoot the guy in front, let this guy die, get both kills. But we're looking for the win here, not to get high kill games. Yes, that's ironic coming from me. I don't care. I sometimes do it, yes. If someone has been a dick the entire match, if someone has been useless the entire match or stolen my kills, then yeah, I will go for this one. But I'm also, most of the time, confident enough that I will win the 1v1 with the other guy. It will again depend on the plane. I'm not telling you to do that, and I'm not trying to excuse you why I'm doing it, I'm just giving you a transparent view on the situation. Go for the guy behind. You kill him, he kills him, both of you survive. Perfect, right? Maybe you only kill this one, he dies, you won't be able to kill this one because he runs away because he's in a faster plane, and now he will be alive late game. So 2 minutes later, you're going to be fighting another P-51. Guess who's above you and reclimbed? The P-51 you didn't manage to kill because you were greedy at the start. Not a good idea. Another great one is, you're with a teammate. The teammate has someone on him, and he is... I need to pull the Spitfire back up. No, that's not the Spitfire. There's the Spitfire. He is fighting a fight. He is not going to win. They're both low speed and they're both dogfighting, and he's trying to extend away from the 109, or from the Spitfire. He's spamming T42, need cover, blah blah blah. I'm coming in to help. I'm coming from the other side. I'm going head on. I'm coming in, they're just turn fighting down there. And then when I'm about 2 kilometers away, what does this guy do? He will force a head on with me. He will come directly head on with me. The Spitfire of course follows. And now I'm also going head on with the Spitfire. Of course this guy won't shoot me, but now I'm in a head on engagement with the Spitfire. I pass, I don't manage to kill the Spitfire in the head on. This guy is now in the same situation. The Spitfire is still on the 6 and he's still shooting. And in the time it takes me to turn back around, get some altitude, because I'm doing a split S or an Immelman or whatever you want to call it, doesn't really matter. I turn around, and by the time I start coming back down, this guy has been killed. And now I have to deal with a Spitfire that by the time I'm there is probably going about 400 again. I miss my approach and I lose the 1v1, let's say hypothetically. Such a shame. Because if that BF109 had done anything but that, we would have been completely fine. Bringing your teammate in a head-on, unless he has something like an S24, you are communicating, or he says, come head on with me because I have good guns, I'm in an F82. Exceptions are always there. A general rule is, and especially at top tier where people have missiles, and you won't believe how many times I've lost because of this, turn your ass towards your teammate. You are losing this dogfight regardless. You're not going to be outrunning him. He's too close. He's 400 meters away. So you're just kind of defensive line. If this guy is 2 kilometers away, what you want to do is turn. And yes, I get it. Sometimes it's hard to pay attention to your team. You want to just turn away. Dive away. But I'm going to be talking about diving away in a second too. Dive away. Start a turn. Spitfire follows it. Just pretend he's following him. And now I can come in from behind, gun down the Spitfire and maybe be there in time. See how easy it is? Going head on is a 50-50. I will probably dodge it. We pass each other. And we're good. So if the Spitfire goes for me for the head on, this one is completely free. The Spitfire broke off and now you're free of the Spitfire. He won't be able to catch me because he has to do a full 180. This one now has enough separation to dive out. Turn your ass towards your teammate, but not too far away. Because say I'm still 5 kilometers away and you do that. Yeah, you already see where this is going. You turn around, la la la. This one turns around. And now it takes me a very long time to close the distance. And in the time it takes to close the distance, it's about as bad as going head on with me. Because I don't have enough time to kill the Spitfire. Another thing, another very great thing. Say I have an altitude advantage. This guy is getting lit up. And he's really close. So even if they dive out, there's a very big chance that the Spitfire will dive completely with him. And guess what's going to happen? He's going to die regardless. What I see a lot of people do is nosedive this 90 degrees down. He will nosedive 90 degrees down with the 109. And now I have 4 kilometers of altitude on my teammate. The problem is, there is another 2 guys over here. So say I help you. What ends up happening is these 2 are going to boomers on me and we all die. Whereas if this guy is on your 6, let's say they're in a complete dogfight, the boat going about 200, I'm closer than the Spitfires, just to make it clear, I'm a little bit closer than the Spitfires, just keep the fight up. I can easily kill the Spitfire, zoom back out, yes I'm upside down, doesn't matter, regain my energy, maybe zoom out the other way. You can now dive, because you're free to do so. Maybe you can just dive back towards our side of the team. And now what will happen is, if the Spitfires follow you diving... Oh, now roll upside down. If the Spitfires think it's a good idea to dive after him, we will have the advantage. And such a small thing. It's both the head-ons and the diving away, and I get it. Sometimes you need to. You have no other option. But if you see a teammate is coming in, if you see that you have another 15 to 20 seconds and a teammate is within a kilometer, don't dive away. Don't make this harder than it has to be. Because the guy that's coming in very fast is going to have a very easy time killing the other Spitfire. Because I can just come in here and kill him. Just like that. Whereas if you start diving away, I won't have a firing solution and it will cost me a lot of energy to chase you down. And a lot of times I won't be able to. Sure, late game is probably less of a problem. Say it's 2v2, the only 2 people on the entire match are these 2 Spitfires. This is actually starting to annoy me. There we go. Say these are the only 2 guys left on the map. You get in the dogfight here. I start coming in and you notice that you have to dive away because this one is coming in. Feel free to do so, because right now only these 2 are out and I can still engage the Spitfire. And playing like a team like this is hard and it takes again a lot of experience, and most of the time if you're in a dogfight, most people won't be aware of the teammate that's coming around. But look at the chat sometimes. If you see a name getting called out, if someone says, say your name is Kevin, and someone says, yo Kevin, dive. Please, for the love of God, if you don't know for sure if what you're doing is the right thing, listen to that guy. If you know from experience that that guy is an absolute ass and he doesn't know what he's saying, you don't have to listen to him. But 9 out of 10 times when people give you instructions, you can trust on the fact that they probably know what they're doing. And of course this will all depend, because there's a lot of cocky people in this community that think they know what they're doing and they definitely don't. So still trust your own instinct. But if you really are like, what am I doing here? I'm not sure if I'm doing the right thing, and someone tells you to do something, it's probably better to listen to them than make your own mistake. At least in that scenario. and hope this is clear as well. And just pretend that these things are now, this is a MiG-21 and the Spitfire is an FGR. So we have two guys coming in, and this is just even a more pronounced problem at top tier. Say you're in a dogfight, you're being chased, and what do? You force the head-on with my MiG-21. This guy isn't in the picture right now. Like, I can't help you right now. Because I'm going head-on, I only have the GSH-23, the probability of me hitting that in the head-on is very, very slim. So we pass, he gets missiled, and now this guy can easily zoom away because he's significantly faster than me. I have to do a 180, I'm a delta wing, I will lose a lot of speed. And he will have a free kill, you die, and there's nothing you can do about it. Of course, in reality, an FGR isn't that much of a problem, but you should be able to see what I'm saying here. If all he did was simply do a flat turn to this side, he followed, I come from behind, and I missiled the FGR. Easy as that. Because the FGR doesn't have business trying to stick with him. If the FGR breaks off to go head on with me, yeah, I dodged the head on. No big problem. But by going head on with your team, mostly will just make it so that they won't be able to help you. So try to help your team so they can help you. You can say, oh, fuck this team, and a lot of people say this, they blame the team when they die. Look at what you did in that situation. Sure, maybe turning the other way, turning back through his guns to fly away from a teammate is a bad idea, but if you go head on with your teammate, then there's even less of a chance he's going to help you, and you are even more likely to die. It's simply a dice roll. Or not really a dice roll, you have to just kind of weigh what's good in that situation and what's not. And you don't have much time to do that, I understand that. And it's going to take some experience. But you just have to, help your team so they can help you. At least a lot of the times. Let's start with a very great mistake that I see very, very often. You got 5 guys at altitude, there's 1 IL-2 ground pounding, and 1 guy goes for it, which is completely valid. You need to secure your ticket advantage, especially if you are in a plane that cannot regain it. So, the 109 goes for it. Then these guys start noticing, oh, IL-2 on the deck, I want an easy kill too. They start diving for it. Now you got 2, maybe 3, let's go with 2, just so it doesn't clutter up. 2 guys after this guy going for the IL-2. And they all think, easy kill, I need to get something out of the match, which is completely valid because you're trying to grind, you're trying to get something. But let's look 1 step further. You are going for the easy kill. You see that there's a teammate 2 to 3 kilometers closer to this easy kill. If it's so easy, what is the likelihood of this guy not getting the kill here? Because this guy will most likely kill the IL-2 without any problem. And now all 3 of you are on the deck, you sacrifice 3 fighters for 1 attacker. You didn't sacrifice him just yet. However, yeah, that's what's to come. The enemy team that did not go for the attacker now has 4 guys at altitude. So inherently you were at an advantage. And now you got 3 people on the deck against 4 people at altitude. Easy clap. And you got a 2v2 at altitude. These guys will absolutely ruffle stomp your team. These 2 will die easily. You might kill 1 in return. And now you have the 3v1 or 3v3 against a bunch of planes that have a massive advantage over you. Something you don't want to do. Another example is the exact same thing. Say in jets, he has a Vautour. Let's depict this one as the Vautour. And everyone is chasing him. Su-17, doesn't really matter what it is. Everyone is chasing this guy. No one is really catching him, they're just wasting their time. And I get it, it's an easy kill, you want to chase him, but he has no impact on the match. He might kill a bomb target, but if he already bombed, all he is a free kill until he lands. Absolute waste to devote all these fighters on here, especially if there's someone right here that's just kind of being ignored because everyone is so busy trying to kill the Vautour. Another great one is chasing someone that you will never catch. We have a P-51 here which is inherently faster than the Spitfire and he's also outrunning us. Why would I spend my entire match trying to chase a guy that I won't catch ever? Especially, let's add something else in the mix, there's a guy on the bottom here. We're now in the Spitfire of course, just so I have more maneuverability than this guy and less speed than this one. So I'm chasing this guy around, I will never catch him. He's just gonna keep climbing, he's just gonna keep extending, and if someone doesn't start turning with you in the first 20 to 30 seconds, the likelihood of them turning with you in 2 minutes is slim to none. You might chase this guy all the way to the map border, you map border, you go the other way, you go head on with him as he map borders, you probably miss because he dodges, because he's playing passive and that's what he has to do. You map border after him and you're back on chasing him. You will never catch him. All you're doing here is making it so that neither of you can play the game, because this P51 can easily just ignore you on your 6, on his 6, still kill people while you are being completely useless. Well, you could have just dived a little bit, killed this guy. Now this guy will have an energy advantage over you, but you weren't going to kill him anyway. Now at least you had an impact on the match. Maybe you win the team fight, and he will actually start engaging you, making it so that he might make a mistake. And a very clear example of this is something that happened the other day. We're gonna pretend this is a top-down view now, so this is north, east, south, west. It doesn't really matter, we're just gonna be looking at top-down to make this a little bit easier. I was in an SU7, and as we all know, the SU7 is pretty damn fast at 9.3. It's kind of bullshit, it's pretty damn fast. The other guy was in an A4B, and man oh man, he really wanted to commit to me. He said, hey DEFYN, I love your videos, all great and all, appreciate the support, but you chasing me the entire match won't do anything. He's chasing me, I'm going Mach 1, he's going like 950 to 1000 kilometers an hour. I'm just opening the gap. I can do a very shallow turn and he will never cut me off. He keeps trying to cut me off because my turn is so shallow. He will never actually catch me. There are some guys, wrong one. There are some guys in the middle of the map as well, doesn't really matter, and he is ignoring all of them. People that pass in between us, people that were like just offset a little bit that he could have easily killed. Instead, he really wants to chase me. So what do? I do a very wide loop around the map and I fly into my team. Guess what he does? He follows me into my team, gets absolutely swarmed by 3 to 4 people, dies instantly, and I just fly away, never had to shoot a single round at him. All I had to do was fly around the map, lead him back into my team. You don't want to be this guy. It's not worth your time, it's not worth your resources, and all you're doing is getting yourself killed. Don't try to do that. I do want to add something to this, however. You don't want to chase someone forever, of course, because that's just boring for both parties. If you're in the Spitfire, we're gonna go top down again. You're just flying away from each other. You're not really opening up the gap too much. Let's say this is a 109, sorry, I just deleted it. Just pretend this is a 109. So the top speed isn't that different. The 109 doesn't want to turn fight you when you're on the 6th. He does, however, maybe want to go head on with you and start the dogfight that way. So what you can do as a Spitfire, break off a little bit. You don't have to dive away, you don't have to do it too violently, because then you will lose a lot of speed. But by going offset a little bit, he can get some separation in. Now you both have some separation. Again, this is top down. So now he can turn around, you can re-engage each other, and you can start the dogfight. If you're on someone that really wants to run away from you, give them some room, because if you don't, all you're doing is just boring both of the parties to death. Give each other some room, give each other the option to dogfight, and everyone has a better time. The other side of the party, say you're outrunning someone, this guy's a turn fighter, you have like 3 kilometers of distance between you. Oh, that's kind of neat, because I actually have that right here. Let's say I have 3 kilometers between us, from the old guide. You are mostly safe to turn around. Of course, this depends on the planes, but in general, you can turn around in 3 kilometers, force the head on, and now you pass each other. Now flying backwards, it doesn't really matter. And when he turns around, he will lose more speed than you, and now you're free to help your team again. If you're running the entire match, all you're kind of doing is wasting your time, and wasting time where you could be spending time helping your team. Another one I see pretty often, this is not so much a mistake, like I get the idea, it's very sympathetic and you want to help. However, helping is not always the best idea. And this sounds very counterintuitive and it sounds very selfish, but if you're going to help someone, you're not going to be saving this guy and you only die yourself. All you did was throw another plane into the bin. You don't want to do that, especially early game. You see 4 guys on this dude, he's gonna die, there is no way you're going to even get there in time. If you try to dive on him, and he dies halfway through, all you did right now is waste your energy. If you think you can kill all these 4 guys on your own because you're in a very superior plane, be my guest. Most people, however, will not be capable of this, and it will also completely depend on what the Spitfires do. And it sounds rough, but you kind of want to ignore this guy. There is nothing you're gonna be doing to save this one. All you do is maybe dent one, he dies anyway, you come in and now it's 3v1. You don't want that to happen. It's a complete waste of a plane and you're not going to get anything in return for it. So instead of only one plane dying in your team, you lose 2. And this is especially bad early game. If it's late game, if you 2 are the last 2 alive, or maybe even the last 3 alive, you probably have to commit. If these are the last 4 players, then they're all on that one guy. This is gonna be your chance. This is gonna be your chance to put a dent into him. Best case scenario, he kills 1, he dies, you kill 1 in the commit. Now it's 2v1. Completely fine. But these are best case scenarios. These are not going to happen very often. If you see a guy with 3 or 4, maybe even 5 people on his 6, and you're not with a team yourself, don't try to be a hero. All you're gonna be doing is killing yourself in the process. And lastly, a big mistake I see, and this is gonna be crit Spitfire, that's what the explosion is for. This might also be an IL-2, an attacker, a bomber, doesn't really matter what it is, you just have to see it as very much inferior to the other plane you're fighting. We're gonna just assume this is a P-51 D30, extremely dangerous plane. You're in a 109 G2. And the P-51 D30 will already be a better plane than you, but you have the advantage. And I see a lot of people go for the guy that's crit, that's slow, that's low, that's not a threat. They think it's an easy kill. And you're right. You dive on this guy, you probably get a kill. Now you're in a disadvantage against a plane that's already very dangerous. When you have the advantage, he kills you. And you lose with 1 kill. And you die. What you could have done is use your altitude to attack this one. He dies. Let's say he dies instantly, and now you have all the room, time and performance in the world to 1v1 a guy that's completely busted up, and you can easily kill him. Now you get 2 kills and a win, and you don't die. So you get more resource points, you get more silver lions, and you don't have to pay for your repair cost. What's there not to like? And I get it, this is a little bit of a mess and it's hard to follow. This was one of those topics that I really looked up to, that I really didn't know how to explain, so I figured I'd do it this way. The next one will probably be a little bit more neat, probably a little bit more streamlined, but I hope this at least paints a little bit of a rough picture. And I was very elaborate here. I was looking at a maybe 6-minute guide, but that's not going to cut it. It's too dynamic of a problem to solve with 1 or 2 rules. So, all things considered, let's just summarize it real quick. Who do you want to kill? And who do you want to save? Save the thing that's going to contribute the most to your team in the long run. Kill who's going to be the biggest pest in the long run. Kill the guy with the most energy, or kill the guy that's the easiest to kill depending on the situation. And I can't go on to this, and the best way to summarize it probably is to start from the beginning. There's a very big chance you will never see this video because I've redone it. If I did a second take, then I will let you know and I will post it somewhere in the future. This is the first time I tried it, and very big chance when I send this to review to someone to review that he will say it's a little bit convoluted and a little bit not clear, and therefore you will never see this, and I will make a second version of it. But all in all, hope this was helpful, hope this helped you out. And I will see you all in the next guide that I will probably put out pretty soon again, because I'm looking to do an entire, a very broad picture with defensive flying, target prioritization that we just did, knowing your planes, awareness, picking your fights, which is kind of this as well as some pre-battle stuff like controls, fuel loads, ammo loads, and then things like climbing and early game engagements, which are also kind of included in here, but yeah, that's basically what it's going to be. So look forward to that, and I will see you all pretty soon in that video.